I began in conventional medicine. I worked at Mass General and Harvard for 20 years, at Boston University before that. And during my years as a primary care doctor, I began to realize that patients were doing things that I did not know anything about when I was studying medicine in the allopathic world. So I began to ask them, what are you doing? Who are you seeing? I would get the names of their practitioners. I would make appointments and go to have sessions with acupuncturist, massage therapist, craniosacral specialist. In the beginning, for at least the first 15 years, I was in the closet in terms of being a Harvard doctor, a Mass General doctor. I would tell patients, I'm giving you these names, but please don't tell anybody that it was me that gave you the names. So little by little, I came out of the closet and began to be known around the hospital as the person to ask if somebody had a patient who said that she wanted to try acupuncture, for instance. And so I had this beautiful network of people. And so in 2004, I was getting really frustrated with the situation at Mass General, where our time with patients was getting squeezed. And the focus became on the business of medicine, not the practice of medicine. And we were paid by productivity instead of by what we used to be paid by, which was caring for people. And so that's when I created my practice, Odyssey, which I did nights and weekends when I wasn't on call in my house. Mm-hmm. So we moved to Mallorca in 2011. I thought I would have to end my Odyssey practice because it was a hands-on, in-person, usually very intense experience. Mm-hmm. But I had the good fortune of having someone from a different state, not around Boston, connect with me just before we moved, saying, I want to work with you. I have all these medical problems. I've heard that you're the person to work with. And I said, well, sorry, I'm moving to Spain, plus you're not in Boston, so I can't do this. And he said, I believe you can. I think we can do it through Skype. And I said, I don't know. But I had my eyes wide open yet again. It was an experience I had many times where I expect one thing and learn another. It turned out that energetically we could connect really well.
Amazing. So you now reach worldwide, let's say, depending on your participant, right? Not patient. Yeah. This is something I loved when I read your page, that you refer to your patients as participants because they are the ones to drive, right? This process. Tell me a bit more about that approach, please.
Well, when you're in conventional medicine, it's a very hierarchical model. It's a very paternalistic model. And I hated that from the start, but I didn't know that there was another option until I began to get to know these people that were in, what was back then called alternative and complementary disciplines. They regarded their relationship with their clients as a partnership. And that felt so much better to me. And so as I began to look for words that described that partnership, I realized the word participant worked best for me. Mm-hmm. The one that I would really like to move to is collaborative health and healing. Well, we're not there yet. We always have to wait for the evolution. So at the moment, we use integrative health. And in International Integrators and in Odyssey, we define it as having 4 parts: bringing together the best in conventional medicine, food, and in our case, we focus on whole plant-based food, movement of the body, and then what we call mind, body, spirit disciplines. Disciplines that work with energy and work with the connection among mind, body, and spirit. So those four things comprise how we define integrative health.
Let's go back to your experience as a medicine student back in the 80s in Boston, right? When I read that you were the first intern half-time, I thought that might have been interesting, because an intern half-time is something that I don't envision, because I have some cousin that is a doctor now, and I remember she was like full-time all her life, dedicated to study and to work. She almost didn't eat. So it was the unhealthiest path you can imagine, because she was so into the career. So tell me a bit more about that project, why it was different.
When I married David, who's 9 years older than I am, one of the things we had to figure out was, when are we going to have children? And after talking to many people, we decided to try to have our children before the clinical years of medical practice began. So that's in the system in the United States, that's the first 2 years of the 4 years of medical school. So we had our son, Jeremy, 3 months before medical school started. And we had our daughter, Ilaria, in January of second year, just before all the exams began. And by the time I was finished with medical school, which I did full time with the kids, I was ready to quit medicine. I just felt completely overwhelmed. But it was the early 80s in the United States. There was a big feminist movement going on. I was very much a believer in moving women forward. And so I was in a state of turmoil. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to be a good mother, how to be a good doctor, how to be a good wife, all of that. So in fourth year of medical school, the last year, I decided that I would quit medicine. And then somebody said to me, you know, there's this thing called a half-time residency. Nobody ever does it, but it exists.
Nobody ever does it. Why?
But it exists. So I found a program in the Boston area that had a saint of a man who was the head of the medicine department, who told me, I believe people can be good mothers and good doctors. And there was another woman from my medical school who also had a little kid. So we became one intern. He hired us as one intern. And so we followed the usual rotation that everybody followed. You do something for a month, then you switch and you do the next thing for a month. So we did that for 2 years together. And one of the things that we had to learn to do was act like one person. So all of the learning about the patients, all of the signing out about the patients, we worked really, really hard to make sure that nobody could ever criticize us for dropping any information or not being completely up to date with everything that was going on with the patients.
Something you believed in, something you needed, something that was fair, and you needed somebody to collaborate with you, because if not, that doesn't work, right?
Yes.
And there was another woman that was in the same situation.
Yes.
So, and today I think we are questioning this 8 hours schedule, right? Finally, hopefully, for something, and it works. 4 hours a day are enough, are productive. How is your time management now?
My time these days is focused on, especially with coronavirus, is focused on teaching about integrative health so that people can have strong immune systems. Most of my day is spent either having individual meetings with people or doing webinars or seminars, and also just trying to stay up with what's being written, because this is an evolving story. We don't understand this virus. We see that it does. Some of the stuff we thought that it did 6 weeks ago, we know that it does, but now there's new things that we're learning that it does to people. And that if it acts like most viruses, that will be how it goes. Most viruses don't just do one constellation of symptoms. Most viruses have effects that are quite broad, depending on the person, depending on how the person's health is, depending on what medications the person takes, depending on the person's social situation. So we, as much as humans, we like to, you know, have certainty about things. Viral illnesses don't give much certainty. And so much of my time is being spent trying to figure out what's happening as this thing evolves and what can we do about it. Because I think when you're in a state of uncertainty like we are right now, where everyone's not sure what's going to happen, and a lot of people are very, very scared and very stressed, that increases your chance that your immune system isn't going to work as well as it could.
I have seen also that you use family constellations as a tool. I am curious about that.
Yeah, family constellation work is essential to the work that I do, both in Odyssey and in International Integrators. It's my belief that nobody gets out of childhood uninjured, even if we had unbelievably fabulous parents. There is a set of needs that each individual has that no other person can fulfill. And it takes time for individuals who are trying to become conscious, trying to become aware of the process of evolution and growth. It takes us time to come to terms with the fact that we have our own needs that we have to meet. So most people go through a period of time where they try to blame somebody else for not having their needs met. And that creates a lot of suffering. So over the course of my years in Odyssey, I learned enough things that I created a book that's on Amazon. It's called Odyssey Family Systems Companion Guide, which I wrote really to just kind of assist people I was working with in Odyssey. But now it's turning out that people who don't work with me in Odyssey like the book too, which was another surprise. It was a book that kind of came to me in a dream. I had to write it in one day. It just kind of, I woke up saying, I have to write this book. And then as I was writing the book kept saying to me, I am a comic book or an art book. And I kept saying to the book, you can't be that because I'm not an artist. But by the time the day was finished and the book, all the writing was done, there were 81 spots where there was supposed to be some kind of artwork. So then I had another dream that showed me what the artwork was supposed to look like. So then I showed a friend of mine who's an artist. I did it on Skype like this. I showed her a picture of what I got in the dream. And she said, oh, I can do that. So now the book has her 81 drawings and then the writing that I did that day. And it was from that the concept of chosen family came, that as we are evolving and as we are growing, we realize that some of the things that we have learned from people who were very influential on us were very beneficial. And some of the things we learned were harmful. And so as we do our work, we get to pick and choose which things are we going to hang on to and move forward in our lives with. And so the concept of chosen family is I pick the people, whether they're blood related to me or not, I pick the people who nourish me, who nurture me, who give me things that help me in my journey.